Hi, third graders. Hope you're doing great today. I've been thinking about you, of course, and I wanted to come on so we could continue reading some of our read aloud book, The War with Grandpa. And last we read was here Grandpa is, he left this note in the Monopoly box, and then Peter was trying to talk to his grandpa about what's going on and can I get my pieces back. And the grandpa's just being so kind, and he's like fixing the rocking chair that has been broken for a long time in Peter's room. And the grandpa's like, he's liking this now. He thinks that this war's fun. He's laughing, and he's like, oh, I got my pizzazz back. And at the very end of our last chapter, Peter said, I'm going to get you back for that Monopoly trick that you pulled. And Grandpa was like, I know, and I can't wait. So here we go with chapter 27, Go Fish. I was thinking pretty hard about how I was going to get back at Grandpa. It wasn't easy. There was a lot of things that I could do and a lot that I would never do, like burning his underwear, for instance. I didn't want to do something that I would be sorry for later on. I thought about it, and then actually I tried to steal his toolbox and hide it, but I found the thing was so big and so heavy that just thinking about carrying it up 3 flights of stairs from the basement just to hide it in the attic was enough to make me tired. Then I figured out what I was going to do. But before I had a chance to do it, I spent a day with Grandpa that I want to tell you about. On Friday night, Grandpa asked me if I'd ever gone fishing. I told him no, that I hadn't. Dad was not a fisherman, and the only time I had ever saw a live fish was in the big tank at the fish store. Well, unless you count the lobster that I once saw in a restaurant, but he was cooked. Or maybe the goldfish that I had once had, but he only lasted a week and then he died. Well, Grandpa said, I'm thinking about going out tomorrow morning to catch us a mess of flounder. I'd sure appreciate the company, Petey, and I think you would like it too. I wasn't so sure that I was gonna like it. You won't go out in the ocean now, will you? I asked. Oh, no, just a couple 100 yards from the shore over in Cold Spring Harbor. Where's that? Oh, it's just a short ride away, maybe 30 miles or so. We wouldn't run into anything big and dangerous, would we? Like what? Grandpa asked. Like Jaws? Grandpa laughed. Well, now, he said, I never thought of it like that. I don't think that we're going to have a meeting with Jaws, Petey. Leastways, I never really have at all ever since I've been fishing my whole life. Well, okay then, I said, feeling relieved. Grandpa told me that we would be getting up very early the next day, but when he told me to set my alarm clock for 4:30 a.m., I couldn't believe it. That's like the middle of the night, I said. You've got to be pretty crazy to get up that early. Well, you got to be up pretty early so that we can catch a lot of flounder, he said. Did you ever get up and out of bed at 4:30 in the morning? It's pitch black outside then. I washed and dressed and put all of the clothing Grandpa said that I would need on. Old jeans, a t-shirt, a flannel shirt, or an old sweater over that, my hooded sweatshirt jacket to go on top of that. Grandpa was down in the kitchen working on a bunch of sandwiches to take along. Ham and bologna, he said. Is that okay with you? Fine, I said. But no mustard on mine. Okay, he said. You should never take tuna or any other fish sandwiches when you go fishing. It scares the other fish away. How could that be? I asked. Don't know, said Grandpa, but believe it. He put the bag of sandwiches into a vinyl zipper bag along with a thermos of cold milk for me. He had another big old thermos that he said, and he filled it with hot coffee on the way. If you're hungry, Grandpa told me, take some bread or crackers because we aren't going to be eating breakfast for an hour or so. I told him I wasn't hungry. What I was sleepy. We stepped out onto the front porch into the black morning. I peeked into the milk box that was near the door. The milkman wasn't even here yet, and we were already leaving the house. What do we have to go fishing so early for? I asked. Won't the fish be there in the afternoon too? Aren't the fish sleeping? The tides, Grandpa said as we went into Mom's car. Before I got into the front seat, I squinted up into the black sky. The stars looked like little asterisks up in the sky. Grandpa drove slowly and carefully through the city streets and then turned into the interstate highway. High tides, Grandpa explained to me, are when most of the fish like to feed. The water comes up into the harbor and it brings a lot of things that the fish like to eat. So if you drop your hook on the incoming tide and you see Mr. Fish just thinks, "Ooh, here's a tasty nibble," and he takes your bait. And that's why we have to be out on the water by 7 o'clock today, because the high tides come in at 9:07 exactly. He looked over at me in the dark. "Do you know what a tide is? Now you do, don't you?" "Well, it's when the water gets higher and lower," I said. "But what makes it do that?" "The moon," Grandpa said. I thought now he was making a joke. "Well, how about them stars?" I said. "Or mountains or trees, maybe." Grandpa chuckled. "No, just the moon. And on the full moon, you get the highest tides of the whole month. It's called gravitational pull, Pete, and it's all true. You know, you could look it up sometime. People keep charts of tides and they can tell you when each tide will come for years and years ahead. The tide is very important." Must be, I said. "It pulled me right out of bed at 4:30 in the morning, didn't it?" We stopped at a little diner a little while later to have some breakfast. Now it was only 5 o'clock in the morning. This is the earliest I've ever eaten breakfast in my whole life. Grandpa had the waitress fill his thermos with coffee, and we hit the road again. Grandpa was humming along with the song on the radio. He seemed very happy. Ahead of us was in the sky. It started to lighten up and it was becoming dawn. "Isn't it great?" Grandpa grinned at me. "Just the two of us men out on the road, footloose and fancy-free. Don't you just love it?" It did feel good being out and alone with Grandpa. We got to Cold Spring Harbor just as the sun was peeping all red and gold at the edge of the sky. Grandpa drove down to the water and parked near Billy's boat and bait shop. I have to tell something true right here, right now. Inside that place, it smelled awful. There ought to be a law against it. It smelled like rotten fish that had been there for about a year. And the smell, that smell could gross out my whole class, maybe even the whole school. We got 2 little pails of bait and walked down the dock on the other side to where the rowboats were tied up. Grandpa helped me into my own life vest and he put one on for himself. Then we put all of our stuff into the boat. It had a wide, flat bottom and Grandpa tucked our fishing rods and tackle underneath the front seat. Then he helped me get in. "Safety first," he told me. "No standing up, sit in one place on the seat, and tell me beforehand if you want to move around." "Aye, aye, sir," I said. It made him grin. Grandpa untied us from the dock. We put the oars into place and we rowed out into the harbor. It was neat, traveling across the smooth water in a small boat. The sunlight was dancing on the water and there was a cool breeze in my face. "I love this," I said to Grandpa. He smiled real big. There's a whole lot more to tell all about this day, but this chapter is quite long already. I could tell about Grandpa teaching me how to bait a hook with a worm or a piece of dead clam that I had to use, about how you drop your hook until you feel the bottom and then you bring it up just a little bit. Or that fantastic feeling when a flounder takes a bait and starts to wiggle and jump around and how you have to pull him up very carefully and slowly so that he doesn't jump off and into the boat. Almost everything about that day was wonderful. We caught a whole lot of fish, more than 20. I got so hungry I ate my first sandwich before 9 o'clock. I learned how to row a boat. It was hard to do, but I rowed us partway back to the dock. And I learned how to clean a fish and get all the scales off. Oh, it was an adventure. Exciting, thrilling, and just a little bit of danger behind it. And I loved every minute of it. We're going to do this again," I told Grandpa on the way home. "Oh, you bet we are," he said. "And we have gone fishing together a lot, many times since that first day. Once we even took Jenny along. She liked it too. But nothing will ever make me forget the first time alone with Grandpa." So you can see why I felt a little sad later that night when I sneaked into my old room and stole Grandpa's watch. And that's where we come to chapter 28, which is titled Playing Hardball, which I will share again with you another day. So I hope you're having a fabulous day. Make sure you take some time today to read to yourself and maybe even practice some of your multiplication facts. All right, third graders, I will see you soon. Talk to you later.